This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
Whatever our vices. America was and is, remains, and will be the place where actually dreams do come true.
History is exciting, and it is important as we look to the future. Well, Bill, let's put a hold in our conversation and ask you to read the introduction to your book, America, the Last Best Hope.
I wrote this book for many reasons. The first and most important is the need for hope. When President Lincoln wrote to Congress in December 1862, shortly after he issued the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, he wrote, "We shall nobly save or meanly lose this last best hope of earth." For nearly a century before that message, and easily for a century afterward, Americans would not have doubted that this country was indeed that last best hope. In a speech scheduled for delivery in Dallas on the 22nd of November, 1963, President John F. Kennedy's text read, "We in this country are the watchmen on the walls of world freedom." Kennedy's view was Lincoln's before him and Jefferson's before Lincoln. Later it was Reagan's. Democrat, Republican, Federalist, Anti-Federalist, it hardly mattered. An abiding sense of American greatness, of American purpose, of American exceptionalism has long characterized many of our leaders and tens of millions of the rest of us as well. We have long had hope. I believe America is still that hope. But I also believe that our conviction about American greatness and purpose is not as strong today. Newspaper columns and television reports are full of cynicism. Many express doubts about American motives on the world stage. Some Americans seem ready to believe the worst about our leaders and our country. Thinking and believing the worst certainly is not hopeful. It is my humble wish that those who read this book will find reason to reclaim some of the hope and conviction we have lost. The second reason I wrote this book is to give Americans an opportunity to enjoy the story of their country, to take pleasure and pride in what we have done and have become. Many books about America not only fail to counter cynicism and hopelessness, they don't encourage anything positive in their place. Some do not engage, entertain, educate, or encourage. History textbooks are often the worst in this regard. National tests repeatedly show that many high school and college students know little about their country's past. Dull histories drive young people away from serious study, away from reading history as adults, away from a reasoned, thoughtful, and heartfelt embrace of their country. Dumbed-down history, civics, and worst of all, social studies textbooks may be one cause of voter and citizen apathy. An encouraging countertrend is the huge popularity of a few histories and biographies. David McCullough's 1776, Walter Isaacson's Benjamin Franklin come to mind. The success of these books is much deserved. They give pleasure, they educate, and they entertain. But few such books have attempted to tell the whole American story. I hope this will be one. The third reason I wrote this book is to give thanks and to remind my fellow citizens of their obligation of gratitude to those who made it possible for us to lead happy and free lives. To Lincoln and the founders before him and to many historical figures afterward, much is due. Obscurity and oblivion are not what they deserve. Americans can be grateful that time and again our ancestors and our contemporaries have chosen wisely and have by their demeanors defined us as a people. Over and over again we have shown the almost uniquely American capacity for self-renewal. And over again in our story, intelligence and leadership have counted in the nick of time. Think of those Americans at Philadelphia in 1787 who devised the most miraculous political document in history just as the young nation seemed to be falling apart. Or Americans coming together to rebuild this nation after the long and devastating Civil War. Or Americans standing fast against totalitarianism during the Cold War. At the same time, it is regrettable, but true, that any number of American choices were not wise. For example, we failed to eliminate slavery when this nation was founded. For too long, we failed to uphold our stated principles in the face of Jim Crow segregation laws. We can be grateful that leaders like Frederick Douglass and Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. rose to prod our consciences and to force us to look into the mirror of our own souls, however belatedly. We needed them to help us right those wrongs. It's important to note that when such leaders stepped forward, they acknowledged a debt of gratitude. Both Frederick Douglass and Dr. King appealed to the ideals of America's founding fathers. They reminded Americans that this country, in order to be true to itself, had to attend to the business of establishing justice and respecting the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To deny some people these universal rights because of the color of their skin, these reformers pointed out, was to deny the essence of what America was to the world. Those who would deny fundamental